Hi everyone, thank you for tuning in to our last Syos live from the season. I'm really happy to have Daro here with me. Hi Daro, how are you?
Hi, Pauline. Thanks so much for having me. This is very cool. It's nice to see you here.
Yeah.
How's this sound? Are you hearing any of the echo from Instagram at all? Is
I
it coming?
think it's I think it's nice now. People, if you have some issues, let us know. And yeah, please, if you have some questions for Daro or even for me, you can ask on the chat, and we will try to answer everyone's questions. And so yeah, I have a few questions myself for you also. So. Yeah, I was wondering if you could tell us when and why you picked up the saxophone.
Yeah, so I think I just got I dropped off the
Oh,
Instagram somehow,
yeah,
but now
you
I'm
have a.
requesting. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, maybe it's a connection issue. Um, yeah, back. Okay. So
Okay.
yeah, so when did I start playing the saxophone and why? So I started playing clarinet actually when I was a lot younger. Um, so for all of the young people in band who are like, oh, why do I have to play clarinet? I just want to play saxophone. I'm telling you, it's a good place to start. It makes it so that the whole range of woodwinds are a lot easier to develop later on. So yeah, in in elementary school, I started playing clarinet because my uncle actually gave me a clarinet. He plays clarinet as well. Um, and I actually wanted to play trombone at first, but I'm glad I went with the clarinet. My mom was
Oh
like, "We
yeah,
already have
we
one."
are glad to.
Oh, thank you. And then when I got to high school, so I went to a performing arts high school in New York City, LaGuardia Arts School for clarinet. I actually was just doing classical clarinet at the time, and then I was really interested in joining the jazz band, but the band director, Mr. Kevin Blanc, who had a huge impact on me and actually all of the Lucky Chops, he said, you have to play saxophone if you want to be in the jazz band. So I was playing alto for a little bit, but then he told me to play tenor because I think there were no tenors, or there were not enough tenor saxophone players in the band at the time. And yeah, I'm glad I stuck with it. So that's when I was 15 years old. So that was like a while ago, 2005.
Okay. So yeah, you already tell us that you play clarinet and saxophone. So I think you play a lot of other instruments. Can you just tell us a little bit all the instruments you play and how did you start on each of them?
Yeah, well, it's been a problem for me actually. I have definitely an addiction to acquiring new instruments and learning them, but maybe that's a good kind of thing to be addicted to, I guess. Um, lately, so for the past 3 years, I've been studying this instrument here called the ney. Style of ney is from Iran, and there's also Arabic and Turkish styles of ney. Um, and actually, this was a similar thing. Like my aunt sent me a ney from Iran when I was like 18 or 19, and I was kind of interested in it. I was like playing a little. I really was interested in the music. I was listening to a lot. It's such a beautiful instrument. Um, and so I learned how to get a sound, but didn't really do much with it until like 3 years ago. I was like, you know what? I've always wanted to study this instrument seriously, so why don't I just start? So I started studying online with a teacher who's actually based in Madrid, Kaveh Savarian. And so, yeah, so I've been learning this instrument. The technique is very different from saxophone or even flute because the embouchure goes, or the opening, it goes in between your teeth, and you like blow across and you shape the airstream with your tongue. And it sounds like. And, you get the different overtones, which actually that's very similar to the saxophone and clarinet. And, for those of you who are working on your overtones, keep it up. It's a great thing to do. But yeah, so the ney, I'm really interested in the style, like the different styles of music in Iran, of the classical repertoire, and like the sort of, oh, my cat is joining. Hi, Anab. I'm gonna just pick you up. Okay, put you down there. She'll be back later. Her name's Anab, which means grape in Arabic, and her sister are Wara and Anab, which means it's like a stuffed grape leaves, the dish, because we were enjoying that dish when we adopted them. But yeah, so the repertoire of Persian classical music, I was learning a little bit of it on saxophone and clarinet. And actually, so on saxophone, there are like different microtonal fingerings. For example, like, one common thing to do. So that would be like, instead of F sharp, which was the second degree of that little tetrachord, you would add an extra finger down, which lowers the pitch between the sharp and the natural, and what you get is a half sharp. And so this type of sound is actually built in to this instrument, and the repertoire and the instrument are kind of one, like the way that the different tones and scales are kind of, and melodies are laid out on the instrument, and the way you move through the different melodies is kind of built into the instrument. So I've been exploring this approach on the saxophone and clarinet as well, and kind of understanding the repertoire through the instrument. That really opens up a lot for the approach to transferring that repertoire to instruments not traditionally associated with the repertoire. So yeah, that's the ney. That's one of them. There's a lot of other ones I've been playing with. Some like more intense sounds, like the zorna, which is like a field oboe kind of, that's really loud, and ney en bon, which is like a bagpipe that I've been playing. It's like an Iranian bagpipe. And these are instruments that have just like very intense sounds. And so that really impacts a lot of my approach to saxophone as well. It's like, how can I get this intense sound from this instrument? What are the things about that sound of those different instruments that excites me? Like, what are the frequencies, and what are the qualities of the timbre? What are the like the volume levels even? Just like the physical intensity of how you approach the instrument, and also like the idiomatic like techniques on the instrument. So I think a lot and spend a lot of time like studying recordings of those instruments, playing those instruments, and then thinking about ways to apply them to saxophone and clarinet as well, and bass clarinet.
And do you have a favorite?
Of all of those instruments, or like of my main saxophone, bass clarinet?
No, of all the instruments.
I think the ney is my favorite. It's just like, it's so basic. It's literally just a hole that you shape your airstream, and that creates the sound. And I think that's just such a magical thing, especially someone coming from, playing saxophone, who's like, when I really started getting into overtones in a deep way and really learning the instrument as like a, this resonant tube, I really, that really kind of transformed what I wanted to get out of the instrument. And the ney is just like that element of the saxophone in its most basic sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Okay, and someone is asking on Instagram, what's your favorite main instrument then?
Favorite main instrument? I would say that it changes a lot, like depending on what I'm doing at the time, and like, usually it's the one I'm playing least, because as they say, absence makes the heart grow fonder. But I would say consistently, like what I always would come back to is the bass clarinet. Even though recently I haven't been playing much of that, I've been playing a lot of alto and B flat clarinet for the types of music I happen to be playing lately. But bass clarinet is just the most magical of the woodwinds, in my opinion.
Okay. We have Peter asking on Instagram if you have tips for altissimo. So I guess it's on saxophone or.
Yeah. I mean, I would say it's the same tips apply across the different instruments. That, at least for me, are the most important things, which are staying relaxed. If you're not relaxed, you tend to squeeze on the mouthpiece, and that's going to actually dampen the vibrations of the reed and, limit your ability to get the higher overtones to pop out. So squeezing, it can get you like part of the way there, but if you really want to like let the sound be open in the top range, relaxing is really the way to do it. And so then when we relax, we have to figure out different ways of shaping the overtone or shaping the airstream to get those higher overtones to pop out, which don't involve just squeezing the reed. So that's going to come from ear training. So really being able to hear the pitch that you're going for, and, playing, singing to sort of connect that like memory of the pitch. And, also like developing that muscle memory so that you really do have a sense of like what you're doing in your throat. There's maybe a little bit of like front and back motion that might happen with your lips, and like your jaw, but not pressure, like not biting down on the reed and clamping down. That's not what we want. So so ear training and relaxation, and doing overtones at lower levels, like not in the altissimo range necessarily, is going to help start to open up some of that awareness of those muscles that you're using and like the different shapes that you create with your throat and your tongue. So that's what I would say about that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I hope that helps. So you are one of the co-founder of the Lucky Shop. So I was wondering, how did everything start for the band?
It was a long time ago now. See if I remember. We were all in high school together. The people in the band at that time, at the same school where I started playing saxophone. So that was LaGuardia in New York City. And the band first started to play at the Filipino Day Parade of New York City, which happens annually. And Rafael Buyo, our sousaphone player, is from the Philippines, or his family's from the Philippines. And so he was part of the Filipino club. And he got a band together and got a sousaphone. And after that, we got into like playing music outside in the park a lot. And, things kept going with like a rotating kind of crew of people who were students at the school. And, so like we were kids just like playing outside in Central Park in New York. And people loved that. So they would like stop and give us money and sometimes like book us for gigs or like shows in different places. So that was really exciting. And once we started doing that, we were like, okay, well, maybe we can do more of this. So we started, booking ourselves shows when we were like 18, 19 years old, like at, local like rock clubs and stuff like that. And things evolved from there. Actually, it was like maybe a different sort of trajectory. So actually from there, we started playing in the subway, which was like a bigger deal than playing outside or even playing shows in some of the venues, because we had to audition to get a spot playing in the subway. So we finally got that in 2014 after, we had just been like doing like local rock venues and private events and busking in the park and stuff like that. And, that's when things took off, because when you play in the subway, you actually get a permit, if you do it as part of this program, the Music Under New York program, which is actually starting up again now in New York. Obviously, you know, because of COVID, people weren't playing in the subway so much. So we started doing the Muni permit hits in the subway, and that was like for a couple of years like a major focus of what we were doing, and that really allowed us to really tighten up our performance. So, you know, both like sonically, musically, and also in terms of like the performance that we were giving and how we were connecting with the audience, and, you know, just kind of understanding like what people really connect with, because we'd have thousands of people walking by every day. So, you know, it was a great place to like try out new ideas and, you know, really tighten things up. And, you know, we were making like good money doing that also. So that was also some incentive for us to continue doing that, because, you know, it's hard, like, especially in New York, to get a consistent musical kind of project together. When, you know, just a lot of it is because of how people's financial realities are. Like, it's usually like there's not much like startup money for like a new project unless like you get a grant or something like that. But like, if you can say like, we're gonna play 3 times a week in the subway and we're gonna be able to like pay our rent, like, you know, that's pretty good. A good way to like really get something going. And so we, you know, we spent so many hours playing together over those couple of years. And and that really like is what kind of developed our sound. And then, as many of you may know, that was like a viral video that happened out of that. And, you know, it wasn't just like a one-time thing. Like, we played in the subway, someone filmed us, and that was it. It was like, we had a lot of chances by playing there, like, you know, hundreds of times. And then one time it happened to just like have this energy, like with the crowd and the performance, and someone was filming terrible quality video. You know, it wasn't like a proper camera even. It was like a bad like phone video. And so that went viral, mostly in Europe, I guess, at first. And that was on Facebook. And, you know, this was back in the day, like when like that kind of like organic circulation was still a thing, because I don't know if that would happen nowadays because of how much these companies, well, I guess it's really Facebook that controls that as well on Instagram. You know, that's not really like how it works anymore, unfortunately, where like things just kind of circulate organically on, at least on Facebook and Instagram. So, you know, we were lucky that it coincided with a time where that was still possible for like, you know, just someone to post a video and then everyone shares it and it comes up in people's feeds. And yeah, so that's how we like managed to have a fan base, and we started touring in Europe, and and then kept doing that for a while, and now we're here.
Yeah. Interesting. So do you have a special memory about or a special anecdote about a situation in the subway?
Oh man, there were so many wild adventures that happened in the subway. I mean, definitely a lot of weird stuff. You know, you get all people from all walks of life going through there. I mean, there were definitely some really special things that would happen where people would, you know, just tell us like how much like coming by and just hearing us play would help them, you know, with whatever difficulties that they were facing. And that really was a huge inspiration for us, of like, you know, understanding that what we were doing was important to people, and could you know, make an impact on people's lives in like a very immediate way. You know, people would tell us like that people that we didn't even know, like, you know, that we didn't recognize, they would tell us like they'd been stopping to see us like every time we play, and, you know, then finally they would come up to us after a really long time, and you know, things like that. Those were the really nice memories. But yeah, definitely a lot of like, you know, crazy stuff happened too. But I'd like to focus on the good memories like that. So yeah.
Okay, I think we have a question on Instagram saying, have you ever played a soprano saxophone? And if you have, do you have any tips to become a better player?
Soprano is actually one that I've hardly played. Not because I don't want to. I don't know why. I play all the other saxophones and clarinets and everything. Just haven't really gotten around to it. I think it's like a phase that I will enter at some point. I played it in high school a bit. We were playing the Thad Jones chart, Thad Jones Mel Lewis Orchestra of Tiptoe, which is a great chart for those of you who are interested in very creative big band music. And there's a soprano part that is kind of, I think it's like the lead, instead of like lead alto, it's soprano. So I played soprano. I was doubling on soprano and clarinet. And I think that was like the most fun I had playing soprano, because it was like this chart, like the section sound was just really built around the soprano, and I really loved that. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, like I haven't spent that much time really like working on my sound on soprano. I think I would just say, like, from switching between other saxophones, the most helpful thing is really spending time getting comfortable with the different overtone series on the different instruments. Or I mean, it's the same series, but just like the feel of the overtone series on the different instruments. And you know how that, like the shape of how you're going to be voicing the notes is changed. You know, on soprano, I remember feeling like I wanted to just like put more pressure on the mouthpiece because it's in a higher range, and it felt like you know, that kind of did the job of like supporting the sound. But I think the most important thing is to find it in your airflow, and you know, not to rely on mouthpiece pressure. So yeah, so I think really exploring your airflow, overtones, breathing, voicing, shaping your throat in different ways, that's going to be the best thing.
Okay. We have someone asking a non-related saxophone question, just saying, are you in New York City? It looks like a Brooklyn apartment.
That's so funny. Yes, that is true. Good eye.
I was expecting in Brooklyn to have like the bricks. So I don't know how he knows that it's a Brooklyn apartment, but I'm not from Brooklyn, so I don't have the eye, I guess.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, Brooklyn. This is an old Brooklyn house.
Yeah. So how long have you been in New York?
I was actually born here.
Okay.
So yeah, just like the rest of us who started Lucky Chops. At this point, only Josh Holcomb, the trombonist, and I are actually members from the high school era. But we still do stuff with Raphael Bouillot occasionally. He still lives in New York, but he's, you may know, a full-time nurse at this point in his life. So he's not able to like tour and, you know, devote a lot of time to the band. But yeah, so I've been in New York for a long time, 31 years.
Definitely. So yeah, the members have come and gone through the years in Lucky Chops. So I was wondering if you had a. It's not an easy question. I was wondering if you had a favorite configuration and how things were.
Drama.
Yeah, I don't want to create.
I would say like my favorite. I've had multiple. Okay, so I will preface this with some disclaimers. Like, usually it takes years to be able to like look back on something when you know, it's stressful. Like, being in a band is stressful, touring is stressful, it's hard. So like, you know, being in a tour bus on the road, all these things, so it can be hard to like appreciate some things while you're in the moment with it when everything is difficult to handle emotionally and physically and all these things. So, you know, this perspective, I guess, changes over the years and having time to like look back on things. But, you know, I would say like my favorite things have just been when we've had like a consistent group, because there's been a lot of times where we've kind of been like rotating through people more quickly than I'd like to. And, you know, to me, it's really the most special thing is when we've had, you know, a consistent group with a lot of time to like work out a sound and like really find where we click, and not necessarily just like hiring people to try to play the part that, you know, we're hoping they would play. It's more like we want to be able to cultivate something where everyone is able to bring their individual unique self to create something new as a whole. And yeah, honestly, it's been harder to do that since we started touring, because the touring thing is much more focused on like presenting a certain show like night after night, as opposed to you know, developing something. There is some development, but it's in a different context, because the, you know, the shows that we do on tour are really about like what we're delivering to people, as opposed to what we do like when we're, I don't know, like busking, or like when, like really when we used to like play in bars, that's when we were able to do like be the most creative, because that would just be like, you know, all acoustic for the most part, which I think is a really special thing for a brass band. That's kind of the, you know, the nature of what we do. And, you know, the spotlight is not necessarily on us, and the sound is not, you know, it's not like each instrument is mic'd up and delivered in like all of its clarity. So you get more of this like chaotic kind of group energy that just comes through. And it's not like you pick out each individual thing so much. And I think that used to free us up a lot more to try out different things as a group, not just like soloing, but, you know, like, you know, we used to do a lot more like group improvisation. And that's a little harder to do on tour, just because of so many things about the environment, you know, like being on a stage, the way that the sound is set up, the way that we're using monitors instead of just having the acoustic sound because of the layout of the space. So yeah, so I guess like, you know, I think that those days of like doing that with, you know, playing in, even though like bars are not necessarily my favorite place to be playing in, because like it's not always a healthy and positive environment, it does give space for us to do things like musically that are a bit more creative and experimental. So it's not necessarily so much about who the members were, although I love playing with the people who are doing that. But, you know, more of like the environment that we played in. So, you know, my ideal would be like to be able to balance that with touring, and which is kind of hard to do. And yeah, so I don't know. I love everyone we've played with. They've all been great musicians, and yeah, and we're looking forward to having a new solid lineup of people post-COVID. We're still working on putting that back together. So I hope my favorite will be the next phase. So anyway.
Yes, I'm sure. I think we have a question on Instagram. What barry sax do you play on? I said I've been looking for one and would like to start saving now, so I can have my own when I finish college.
Oh, that's great. I wouldn't necessarily recommend the one that I use. It's actually not that good. That's part of the problem of like trying to have a ton of instruments. Like you don't necessarily invest in one really good quality thing. You just like, what's the cheapest I can find so I can have as many instruments as possible. So yeah, my Barry, it was like the cheapest low A Barry that I could find that wasn't like one of the new eBay ones. that, you know, I'm not even sure, like those might be good quality, but this one was like an older one. So I just thought like, okay, it's been around since like the 70s. So it's probably works well enough if it still exists now and hasn't fallen apart. So it's called the Weltklang. And I don't know how commonly they turn up, but I read that it's from East Germany. And it's actually really light, and I got it because I ended up needing to play Barry on like a couple of tours we did. So yeah, it's not like a big resonant sound, which is what I really look for, and that's why I like my other horns are like older horns, like much older. Although the tenor I play it's a newer horn, it's a Lupifaro, but it's designed based on like the sort of like larger more resonant sounds of older horns, which is what I really do like. And the Weltklang is much more like a smaller kind of sound. Maybe it's like smaller bore size or something like that. You know, it doesn't have that like old like con kind of sound, which is really my jam. So yeah, that's what I recommend, like an old con, even though the low B flat, that's like the sound for me. Anyway, yeah, there's plenty of information. Like I wouldn't use me as like a source for like Barry purchasing guide, because my Barry is not good. But it works.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing.
Okay. Yeah, so you are one of the first Syos artists we met a long time ago. You remember when we met on
One
a
of the best days of my
Sunday?
life.
Yeah, it was really a really fun night, like with no one at the old office. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, for me, it was like going to the Willy Wonka chocolate factory. It was like I got my golden ticket. I had just started, like maybe for the like a year or so before that, after playing the same mouthpiece for like my whole time as a saxophonist. I had just started like trying to find out like some different mouthpieces, and was like trying more open tip mouthpieces and all these things. And then like I got a message, and I was like, do you want to come, like, I don't know, I forget exactly what you said, but you were like talking about what you were doing at Syos. So I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, it's a wonderland of mouthpiece customization and all this stuff. So it was perfect timing. And yeah, that was awesome. I felt like a kid in a candy store.
Yeah, and yeah, then we started a nice collaboration and designed several mouthpieces for you. So that was really great. So yeah, I just I wanted to know what do you think about working with Syos?
Well, if you weren't here, I might have something different to say. No, just kidding. No, it's so awesome, man. Like, yeah, what you have built, just so much congratulations and props to you, Pauline, and the rest of your team that you've assembled along the way. Yeah, I think it's really exciting. I mean, I think like, you know, for people who were looking for like just trying to find like the right mouthpiece, and just like going through stuff and feeling like, oh, this just isn't getting what I need out of it. Like, especially like doing brass band stuff as a saxophone player. You know, like I had brought in this mouthpiece that was a Rico Royal Graftonite mouthpiece, which you get for like $25. They're made of, I guess they're some kind of plastic material, but they're very cheap. And I had like just like run it on some sandpaper to open it up, because I was like, I need something louder, and like more like bigger tip opening was not necessarily louder. Larger chamber I thought would be louder, but it was the opposite, or it didn't feel louder. And So like I had made this like crazy open mouthpiece that just had this like pop and projection to it, like really thunderous, but was like basically unplayable except for just like blasting. So yeah, so I was able to like get that basically that design, but like made in a way that was actually playable with like proper balance, so that I could play it like different dynamic ranges and control it in different ways. So yeah, that was just so exciting, and the fact that you all were like, yeah, sure, let's do this, that was super cool. And yeah, and like to have a mouthpiece company it doesn't feel like you're just like some corporation out to like make a profit off of selling stuff to musicians. It's like the way that you approached me, and I imagine so many other artists, was like you're like designing something that was actually like what everybody wants to have, and like we're all like searching for that thing. And so it's like definitely like so artist friendly, but more than that, like actually like supportive and like creating part of the music, like part of the artistic process in creating these mouthpieces. So yeah, so that's just wonderful. So get your Syos today.
Yeah, can we hear a little bit a little demo of the tenor mouthpiece, which was the first one of the long story?
Yeah, definitely. Oh wait, do you mean the one that I made, or like the one that like you?
No,
This
you
one?
can play the new one.
Yeah. So this is the purple new material, but possibly the only, I don't know, purple is maybe not compatible with the new design. I forget exactly what you were saying, but
yeah, so it's a little teasing about the new collection of colors we will be releasing soon, so get ready.
Yeah, how's the sound through this microphone? Is it okay?
It's clipping a little bit, but it's okay.
Let me take out my headphones because I think that'll. Is that good? Do you hear that?
Yeah.
So one thing I love about playing this mouthpiece is that like there's so much flexibility in the tone that I'm able to achieve. Like, so there I was kind of like pushing like, well, actually at different, I guess I just naturally do it in different parts of like what I'm playing based on the feeling I'm going for. But like, I can go for like a much like edgier, kind of like harsher, like brighter sound. If I like change like the voicing a little bit, it like really kind of picks that up, more so than like on other mouthpieces. Like, it's always possible to change like the overtone spectrum that's coming out by like shifting the placement of your tongue, like moving it higher. Like E kind of gives it more of like that brightness and edge, and pulling it down can be like more dark. But I find that with this mouthpiece, it really like it really goes with that. And so like, if I want to be like it does like respond to like a more like dark kind of subtle kind of tone. But if I really want to push it, like it will, and I bring my voicing up, it really goes with that. Like that's like when I really want to go for like the more like crazy, intense sounds that, you know, maybe I'm getting from like some of those different like instruments that I was talking about earlier. And yeah, so I just really love playing this, and it's always fun to like explore those different ends of the spectrum. And yeah, I can play really quietly too, which is like, you know, I feel like I can control it. It's really great. This is like, and it's really funny. I think I've told you about this, like times, like, sorry, I just plugged in my thing again. A couple of times I've been like, I don't know, sometimes like after a tour, like, you know, when I've been playing the same mouthpiece every day, and then like, you know, use like in-ear monitors, so it kind of like alters your perception of the sound. And like it will kind of mess up my embouchure if I'm not careful, not spending enough time like playing without those in-ear monitors. Like at the end of the tour, I'm like, oh, something feels weird. Like maybe I need to like switch mouthpieces or something like that, just to like reset or whatever. And so I'll do that, and then like just like any other mouthpiece that I've had from over the years, like trying to find the right one. Even I have some like pretty good ones, like not going to throw shade on other companies, but like, you know, I just nothing really compares. Like I'm like, okay, no, this is like the right one, like by far. Like, you know, I just miss so much of the sound, like, and yeah. So anyway, I'll stop raving about this mouthpiece, but yeah, I really no, I really do. I really do love it.
So we have a lot of questions actually. So when a person is asking, what ligatures do you use?
Oh yeah, so I kind of, this is another thing where I always like switch back and forth, some between like the Syos ligature and this. It's just like a bonade or bonade. I don't know how it's pronounced actually, but it's just like a really basic like metal ligature, and yeah, I can like pull it down a little bit farther than the Syos ligature, so sometimes that feels like more comfortable. But yeah, I guess I've never, or since I started like, you know, exploring mouthpieces and like switching around and stuff, I've always had to like make slight changes after every so often. Like I'll get stuck in some kind of habit that I notice, and like, you know, and then I just slightly pull down the ligature or something like that. And, you know, it kind of changes how it's responding, and then that kind of frees up whatever tension I was building over time or something like that. So, but yeah, I usually switch between like this one and the Syos ligature.
Okay. We have Owen asking, how does the material respond?
The mouthpiece material?
Yes.
Sure. It's great, and actually I've definitely learned, like, you know, like I've played metal and hard rubber mouthpieces also, and I think what I've found, like definitely, like, you know, as you all have pointed out at Syos, it's really like the shape, like the geometry of the mouthpiece that really affects like how bright and these things. But the thing that I guess you notice the most, like while you're playing, I think that creates a big difference in perception, is one is the shape of like how it sits in your mouth. So like for me, having like the wider shape that's like, you know, in line with like the traditional kind of like hard rubber mouthpiece shape, versus like a thin like metal mouthpiece where they have like the really thin rails and everything like that. That feels way more comfortable. And I think that the thin metal mouthpiece shape creates this perception of like more brightness to the tone, depending on, you know, what the design of the mouthpiece is. And then also like the vibrations that's coming in through your teeth. So as far as like the sound, like I've listened to like old recordings of myself, and like forgot, oh yeah, actually I think that was on a metal mouthpiece, or something like that. And it's not like it doesn't sound any different in terms of like the brightness or edginess or whatever of the sound. But what I felt like while I was playing it was vastly different, which I think is because of how your body is picking up the vibrations of the through the mouthpiece. But yeah, so I think like the material of the mouthpiece is maybe it will affect like your perception of the tone more than it actually is affecting how it's sounding, but the shape is really what is creating the different response for me.
Okay. There is Cole asking, it was, oh yeah, it was asking if the mouthpiece, your signature models on the baritone feels the same. Because yeah, there are, we try to design them. We have the same design for both the tenor and the baritone. So yeah, how does it feel compared to the tenor?
Yeah, I think the Barry actually does feel like it kind of sits more in like the brighter side of the spectrum. And yeah, so like it kind of really does gravitate more towards that. Whereas the tenor, I feel like, and maybe it's because I play more tenor also, so it's just like my own, how my body has grown around the instrument over like 15 years, of playing it. But I feel like my natural tendency when I play the Barry mouthpiece is it does feel like it's just naturally brighter. And so yeah, it's the same kind of design, like this kind of like small baffle, like but yeah, it just it does kind of go more into that. It's like a bit harsher, but still, like, I find like it's not like it's lacking in like the low end or like the present kind of like core of the sound, which when you most like bright mouthpieces that I've tried, they really feel like they kind of like they're thin and that you really lose that, like the bottom end of the sound. But on these mouthpieces, I feel like when I go bright with it, with like how I'm voicing it, it's still it's still there, like that low end, it doesn't go away. So yeah, so that's interesting, and I'm really not sure exactly like what is causing that to be the case, in terms of the acoustics. But yeah, that's what I've observed with that.
Okay. Yeah, I was we always see that in the lucky shops bands, like everyone has like a lot of energy. You are a lot of dancing, a lot of power and the sound. So I was first, yeah, I was wondering, where do you all get your energy? Do you have a special secret?
It used to be caffeine. When we would play in the subway, we would like drink Red Bulls. We were a lot younger and our bodies could handle that sort of behavior. No, but I mean, like, yeah, that was actually part of it, but like it's really channeling like the crowd energy. And because I think like our whole kind of approach with that band has really been like focused on like very much outward, as opposed to like going like like we're just playing for each other. It's which is a equally, there's no like better approach, anything is valid. But yeah, like with that kind of outward thing, it's like it's been all about the audience. And so yes, we're listening to each other like very deeply, and like the music does come from that connection that we're making with each other. But for us, it's also come just as much from the connection that we're making with the crowd as a group and as individuals. So like, and sometimes it can be like, we get overwhelmed with that, or, not necessarily in a bad way. I don't mean like, it's too much, but like, there's like a total dissolving of like this boundary between us and the audience. So like, on like a energetic level. So like if there's someone like in the crowd jumping up and down, and then like we connect like while I'm playing, like then I start jumping up and down. It's almost like not even thinking about it, and I think that's a really like wonderful and just like a really deep and like cathartic and transformative experience, to like be in that space where you're like in this just like swirl of energy between us as musicians and as the audience. But yeah, I don't know how sustainable it is, because I definitely like ended up with a lot of like neck and back problems from like, just like moving around in like uncontrolled ways. Yeah, and it's interesting actually, because it started like in the subway. We would like put together these like dance components to what we were playing as a way of like, getting more interest from people passing by, because it was like, okay, we're playing these brass instruments that maybe, people will be like, oh, okay, it's just another whatever. Like it's not what I hear on the radio. It's not what I'm interested in. So we're like, okay, how can we add something to like grab people's attention without like, just completely changing what we were doing musically. And so the dance thing originally was like more controlled, and it was like we had certain steps that we would do with the different songs, which we've kept some element of, like for some of the things that we used to do from back then. But for a while it got like, we were just like, no, we're just going in like the pure energy direction. And during that time, I like really messed up my neck and back from doing it with like a saxophone. So that's why I have like a shoulder thing. And actually when we tour, I use like the Van Doren strap that goes around the waist, because it just takes everything off the neck. And now I can't use a neck strap without like, it'll be like pretty painful. But yeah, it was worth it though. Like, I mean, like to like have those experiences with like interacting with the crowd in that way, and also this was like, on tour in Europe with people that we, we're just like passing through the city for the first time that we've ever been there. And like, there's just like, hundreds, sometimes thousands of people who are like there to like get into this like crazy energy experience with us. And so, yeah, like, of course I'm going to like start jumping up and down. Like when I see other people doing that, like, how can you resist it? But yeah, we'll see what happens when we start touring again. Like, after this time of like not being in that space of like that really intense like swirl of energy that you can only get from like being in a packed space with a lot of people. We'll see what that's like as things change, hopefully back to that being possible again. Yeah, definitely not going to take that opportunity for granted in the future, that's for sure.
Do you have any gigs planned with the Lucky Chops soon?
So we're actually right now our next tour is scheduled not until January, and these were dates that we were supposed to do like at the end of our last US tour. That it was like 2 more weeks of touring that we still had that were canceled or like kept getting postponed. And so we rescheduled them. This is actually the third time so first we scheduled them for like the fall of last year, and then I forget. Maybe no. I guess there's the second time, so it's like the third try of having these dates. So we pushed it all the way back to January, and hoping like, okay, maybe fingers crossed, like we'll be able to finally make that happen. So that's our next like touring stuff. But we're going to be playing in the parks and putting out like and in the subway even, and doing some live streaming and new videos. In the next couple of months, we've been starting to rehearse together, getting together some new people, since members of the band, as I was telling you earlier, Pauline, like some members have left to different places since COVID. It changed things for a lot of people. So yeah, so we're like, starting a new rotation of people, and so that's taking more time than we thought, but yeah, definitely going to be out and about pretty soon, so it's exciting.
Someone saying new videos are gonna get the Discord more active.
The Discord.
I saw you open a Discord channel. So yeah, how was it like? Was it during the COVID stuff, or did you open it before?
I think it was right before, actually.
Okay.
And then then we did a lot of stuff with the Discord, like during COVID. Like we did a lot of collaborations where we would make videos with us, like remote collaborations with all of our fans who played instruments and wanted to submit videos.
That's nice.
Yeah, and that was really fun, and it was really special to see so many people who were like excited about sharing their, doing their part with the video. And then and we actually have one more that we're still sitting on that's going to be coming out, and actually we'll probably be doing another round of submissions for that one, but we wanted to wait on that one to release it when we have like some new content to put out, because that way it gets more engagement also when there's other content, as you probably know, because of how much Syos has like crushed the social media game also. So yeah, so
you're still better than us, I think. You have more followers.
Oh man, followers. Yeah.
Yeah, so you said shout out to the Discord admins, and yeah, if you are doing a new videos, maybe we should get a part with the Syos team too. That would be fun.
Oh man, we have to do that. Yeah, definitely. Well, I'll send you the information about the one. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Also, shout out to our Discord moderators, Sid and Joshi, who have done a lot of the editing for those videos, including like all the video editing work. And I worked with Joshi on the mixing, the audio mixing of those, and he's been doing a great job with that. So yeah, it's nice to have people who are interested in what you do and like want to be involved. So that's super cool to have.
Yeah, you have a lot of fans all around the world. So what's your craziest memory of a live show with the Lucky Chubs?
Oof. Oh man, that's a tough one. I mean, I guess right now, like the first thing that popped into my mind was when it was our very first tour, which we like sold out like all of our shows like very quickly. It was like when we just had the viral video, and we got like this management team that was like, all right, we're gonna make this happen. Like we're gonna get you these tours, and all these venues and promoters were like, oh, what is this? It's like a brass band viral video, like. But they booked us. They took a chance, and it worked out really well. And in Amsterdam, I think this venue closed actually, but it was called the Sugar Factory, right across the street from the Melkweg. And we played there. And so we did 2 shows there. The first one sold out like right away. And so then they opened up like a second like matinee show. And it also sold out, and it was crazy. And yeah, so this was not too long after my grandmother had passed away, and she was from the Netherlands. So, the idea of like going there and playing and having all these fans from the Netherlands was like very, very special. And I have a lot of family there as well. And yeah, and I just remember I like got on the microphone and was talking about that, my grandmother was from the Netherlands, and we actually played the show. I think it was, so her birthday and my mom's birthday are the same day, May 16th. And I think the show was like either on that day or like the day before or something like that. It was like right around her birthday. Um, and so I mentioned that to the crowd, and then they all burst out singing the Dutch version of Happy Birthday, which I forget. I'm like drawing a blank right now. But yeah, so just like this huge crowd of people just like yelling, like singing like at the top of their lungs, like Happy Birthday for my grandmother. Yeah, that was so special. That's the first thing that comes to mind. But definitely just one of many extremely crazy performances and experiences that we've had from touring. So
Yeah,
that's really nice.
we actually have Carlos from Mexico. He's asking if you are coming anytime soon to the country.
Oh man, I hope so. Yeah, that would be awesome. We played once in Mexico City at what was it called? Teatro something.
Corona? No.
No, something different. It was like I can't remember. It was like a pretty big theater, but yeah, I would love to go back. That was a long time ago. It was 2017, I think. So yeah, I hope so. I really do. Yeah, tell all your friends to call your local venues and say we want to book the Lucky Chops, and then
Yeah, we all want to see the Lucky Chops.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have a lot of more questions, but it has already been 1 hour, so I don't know if you have something you want to share before we leave, like any news, anything you want to talk about.
Yeah, well, I guess one thing that would be cool is I've been making a lot of electronic music lately, as many musicians started doing during COVID. I had already started like a little bit before COVID, so I was able to like, use some of that to like start working on things right away. But mostly ended up using that to like mix Lucky Chops recordings, like that experience or whatever. But yeah, I actually am putting out some music pretty soon, like some electronic stuff on my Bandcamp with the Nay and like electronic stuff, and then also some stuff I've been collaborating with the DJ from this party in New York called Laylit, which is like the Arabic word Layla, or is like a nighttime, and like lit is like it's like a lit party. So so we're putting out some music soon as well. And you can follow like Laylit, Laylit on Instagram to see that. And that's like saxophone with like Arabic kind of rhythms and like electronic sound and stuff like that. So if you want to hear some electro saxo kind of stuff, check that out. But yeah, otherwise, like things in Lucky Chops we're just kind of like rebuilding, and we're going to be sharing some of that development with you all soon. So keep an eye out for that. And yeah, if you're interested in joining our next fan collab video, check us out. Like send us a DM, I guess, and I can like send you the info there on Instagram. If you haven't already submitted your part. But yeah, I guess that's what we're up to now. So yeah, not too much like too many announcements or things like that. But yeah, just hope everyone is doing well out there and hanging in there, and hope we see you all in person soon, and hope we can come to see you in Paris.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, looking forward to it. Yeah, we need some live music soon, because it has been a little long now.
Yeah, are people playing outside in Paris? like busking and stuff like that?
Yeah, we have some shows now. Music. Yeah, some shows are even inside.
Okay.
But yeah, hope we will keep having them because the situation in France is not really good right now. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's been similar situation here. People are starting to get a bit concerned again. Numbers are going up. So yeah, do your part, folks. You know,
Yes.
if you want to hear music again. Yeah. Anyway.
Okay. Can we finish with a little bit of music?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, what do you want to hear? Some Lucky Chop stuff or?
Yeah, some Lucky Chops.
Here, I'll take. Let's see. That's a good one. How about like? So this is from like our AB Jam. Oops. Okay. And yeah, so this is on our like a lot of our live stuff. We do this, but yeah, we play like the New Orleans like spiritual I'll Fly Away, and then we go into like a jam thing where we just kind of play over like a single chord and like vamp, and like layer up different parts on that, and do some like group improvisation. And so usually like I start with kind of like a part that's kind of like compatible with the bass line. So like the bass is kind of like boom, 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 and then we'd add like and then like go into some improvisation on top of that, because then the Barry kind of starts coming in playing like the little snippet of a
Yeah, nice.
vibe.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you very much for having being. I'm lost with my English right now. I'm tired. Thank you for being with us tonight. It was really nice to have you, and yeah, I hope to see you soon in France or maybe in New York. I will try to come as soon as I
come
can
visit.
because yeah, well, I'm still not allowed in the US, I think. So.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah, I need to wait a little bit.
Well, we look forward to that, and look forward to coming to visit you. And yeah, thanks so much for having me, and thanks for all of the amazing stuff that you have been doing over these years. And yeah, we'll see you soon, I hope.
Yes. Thank you. Have a good day, good night, everyone. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope to see you soon. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Bye everywhere.